Carlock, and this is my presentation for the study I did on screen time and sleep quality of college students. This is for the Department of Psychology at Wilmington University for Sci 409 Senior Seminar in Psychology with Professor Kelly Cheeseman on August 18th, 2024. So first and foremost, what is the research problem? The research problem is sleep problems in college students. Around 60% of university students experience poor sleep, 70% of college students report getting less than the recommended 8 hours of sleep per day, and more than 80% of college students say that loss of sleep negatively impacts their academic performance. Sleep problems in college students has been well researched within the academic community, and we will later explore the contributing factors that have been identified for sleep problems in college students. So why does this matter? Why is it important? Why is sleep important? It's important because it impacts our physical health, cognitive functioning, and mental health, especially in regards to college students. Sleep deficiency or poor quality sleep has been linked to poorer academic outcomes as well as a higher likelihood of car accidents, impacting cognitive function and poor decision making as well as impaired judgment. But there are also physical effects of sleep deficiency, such as increased injuries, chronic health problems, as well as an increased likelihood of death, as well as mental health. We will explore a little bit next, actually. So, what are some of the contributing factors to sleep problems in college students? From the literature that I reviewed, there were 4 major contributing factors to sleep problems in college students that were identified. Those being alcohol and stimulant use, stress, mental health, and technology. Technology has an asterisk on it because it has been the least researched among these factors, and we will get more into that in a second. But with alcohol and stimulant use, alcohol and stimulants are widely used in college settings, particularly study drugs, but also caffeine, as well as alcohol. So there has been a positive association found between insomnia and illicit drug abuse. Students with a higher risk of alcohol problems were associated with a higher likelihood of poor sleep quality, and caffeine impacts the circadian rhythm of college students, which leads to daytime sleepiness. So they are up during the night and then they have daytime sleepiness. So then we have stress. Many college students report being stressed, and poor sleep quality is significantly associated with higher mental stress levels, and stress and daytime naps are associated with poor sleep quality among college students. So there's an association both ways between these factors and how they interact with one another. In addition, the same goes for mental health. Young adults are at a greater risk for developing mental health symptoms regarding anxiety and depression and obsessive compulsive tendencies. So students with insomnia symptoms are more likely to experience mental health symptoms, and students with mental health symptoms are more likely to experience insomnia. The same goes for depression. Depression contributes to sleep disturbances, and sleep disturbances were found to contribute to depression. So then, regarding technology, the research has not caught up with the influx and the rapid changes that technology has brought. 97% of college students own a smartphone, and much of the research has focused on youth. So in youth, researchers have found a strong association between screen use and delayed bedtime and decreased total sleep. However, researchers have found conflicting evidence on the relationship between screen use and sleep quality in college students. Some researchers have found that screen time is associated with decreased sleep quality in college students, whereas other researchers have found no significant association. So more research needs to be done on that front, and that leads to my study. So my research question was, what is the relationship between screen time and sleep quality among college and university students? So the independent variable was the average daily screen time of participants from the past 4 months, and that was collected from the screen time function in smartphones. The dependent variable was sleep quality, and that was measured using the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality index, the PSQI, which is an established instrument for assessing sleep quality and problems. It has been found to be reliable and valid, using sensitivity and specificity to measure validity. It has a specificity score of 89. As a specificity score of 86% and a sensitivity score of 89.6%. And then for test-retest reliability to show that it's reliable as a score of 0.85. My hypothesis was that there will be a strong positive correlation between screen time and poor sleep quality among college/university students, and that would be indicated by a higher PSQI score. So a higher PSQI score indicates poor sleep quality and more sleep problems. This is based on, my hypothesis is based on the current literature regarding the impact or the association between screen time and delayed sleep/decreased sleep for children. In addition to the studies that I found that were with college students that showed a relationship between higher amounts of screen time and poorer sleep quality. So my method for the study was using a survey. I posted the survey using the questions from the PSQI, as well as 4 places for participants to include their weekly average screen times for the past 4 weeks, because the PSQI is based on the past month. So both data is collected based on the past month. This survey that I made was posted on my Instagram story, which was available to see to people who follow me. And if you click on here, then it'll take you right to the survey. And it will take you first to the implied consent form that all participants had to acknowledge before continuing with the survey in order to be part of the survey. Participants were college and university students who are attending school on a part-time or full-time basis in fall 2024 at an undergrad or graduate level. And this is a convenience sample because it was the easiest for me to reach the most amount of college students that I have access to. Being an online student, I don't have a lot of access to different students, and especially it being the summer. So this convenience sample type was the best way that I could reach a large amount of college students. So next we have the results. There were 36 total respondents, and 28 indicated that they were eligible for the studies. So they were eligible to complete the rest of the survey, indicating that they were enrolled in classes at the undergrad or grad level in fall 2024. One participant was unable to access their screen time, so their data did not go towards the data that was analyzed. The data that was collected and analyzed for this study was the 28 eligible respondents who completed all areas of the survey, and the age of the participants ranged from 18 to 30 years old, and the average, median, and most common age of participants was 21 years old, which is my age, and shows a lack of variability within that. But regarding the results, how I analyzed the data was using a Pearson correlation coefficient that examined the relationship between screen time and sleep quality. I used the Pearson correlation coefficient to calculate for R, and with R, I was able to see the strength and direction of the relationship between the 2 variables. So with the R value, you could have a +1 or like a +1 or a -1. A +1 would indicate a positive correlation between the 2 variables, a extremely strong correlation between the 2 variables, and then a -1 would be considered a very strong correlation between or a very strong negative association between 2 variables. So 0 indicates no correlation. And then you have weak correlations being closer to 0, and then stronger correlations being closer to that +1 and -1. Next, I checked to see if the relationship was significant by calculating the p-value from the r-value generated from the Pearson correlation coefficient. So I found that screen time and poor sleep quality indicated by a higher PSQI score were found to be moderately positively correlated, with the R-value being 0.49 with 27 respondents. The p-value is 0.009. I calculated that using the R-value, and that's significant at the 0.01 level. Then I also have some more information, descriptive statistics concerning the screen time data collected and the PSQI scores. One thing interesting to note about the PSQI scores is that a PSQI score of 5 or higher indicates poor sleep, and a higher score indicates poor sleep quality. And the average, median, and most common PSQI scores were all above 5. So that is in conjunction with, or it is in agreement with the literature and the problem of college students having sleep problems. So that's in conjunction with that. So here we have some limitations. This study is limited by the sample size. There were 27 respondents, and the small sample size limits the generalizability of the conclusions of this study. So because there's a small sample size, it's not necessarily generalizable to the whole population of college students. In addition, it was the data was not collected on demographics, so it was an anonymous survey, so I was unable to identify different participants. And I was also I did not collect further demographic data, so I was unable to see if it was representative of college students, so the generalizability of the conclusions is limited in that regard. In addition, it's a correlational study, so the conclusion is that screen time is, there's an association between screen time, a moderate positive association between screen time and poor sleep quality. However, this is not to say that screen time causes poor sleep quality. It's correlation and not causation. This was a correlational study and not an experimental study, so I was not changing the independent variable. And so with that, I cannot say that screen time causes poor sleep quality. Instead, there's just a moderate association there. That being said, the study is also limited because it does not take into account other factors such as mental health. Mental health is linked to higher screen time, and it's also linked to poor sleep quality. So that is one major thing that could impact those statements. And then in addition, there's volunteer bias in this study because the study was offered on an online platform. It was offered on social media. This means that individuals who are online and have higher screen times would be more likely to see the study and participate in the study, which could have skewed the data and contributed to higher screen time scores. So then what are the implications of the study? The study shows that there is a moderate correlation between screen time and poor sleep quality among college and university students in the United States. This is important because it adds to the research exploring the relationship between sleep and technology among college students, and it expands on this factor that contributes to the overall problem of sleep problems in college students. Data from this research may be used as support for college and universities to consider screen time when making programs for students to improve their sleep quality. So this is really the application of what we found in the study, where colleges such as the Oregon State University make tips and guides for students experiencing poor sleep quality and decreased sleep, because it is such a problem. And in this one, I found it was the first one that popped up when I searched guide for college student who can't sleep. this was the first one that popped up for me, and screen time was not mentioned. So this is a example of how the data from my study could be applied within the community as well. Even just any programs regarding ways for college students to improve their sleep quality and increase the amount of sleep they have, screen time should be considered in that. So here we have my references, and thank you so much.